Hey guys, how's it going? Studman coming back at you once again today, and wow, look at my shelf here. Look at the space on my shelf here. That's because I haven't been putting things back on my shelf after watching them, after picking up new titles. I have a bunch of stuff just sitting around waiting to actually be put back on the shelf or be put on the shelf in the first place. I'm gonna have to get around to that, and I think I'm gonna wait until after Black Friday and then just have a massive time to organize everything kind of situation. Either way, today we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Blu-rays. More Blu-rays that I picked up because I am sick, because I have an illness, that I have an itch that I need to scratch. And that itch is picking up movies that I want to own, that I want to watch again on Blu-ray whenever I can find them for a really good deal. And I found some pretty damn good deals at FYE once again. FYE for me is really becoming my replacement for Go Hastings. Rest in peace. FYE, when I want a deal but I'm not really finding it anywhere else, typically they'll have something that's just randomly out of nowhere. Oh, that's actually a really good deal after you do all the math on it, you know. This one I believe was $20 off of 75 or more. So it came to like $63 or something like that total for everything that I picked up. And yeah, I got, what was it like? Let me just do the math here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 movies on Blu-ray total in the form of 12 movies. 12 Blu-rays, I should say, for $63. If you do all the math, it's like $4 a piece or something like that, but obviously I paid more for some and less for others. That being said, I don't remember exactly how much I paid for everything or for each individual title, so that's why I told you basically, you know, $63 divided up 12 different ways, but there are like multi-movie packs, so it ends up being 16 movies total. There you go. There's the information, alright? So let's just go ahead and start off with the Disney title I picked up, Oz the Great and Powerful. Of course, you gotta have this. I had, what was the other one that I got recently that was like this? The Alice in Wonderland one? Yeah, Alice in Wonderland. But I didn't have this. This one I watched for the first time at my brother's place a couple of years ago. He had it on demand. He had it available like as a on-demand Vudu thing or whatever. And I wouldn't say it's like my first experience with Vudu or anything. It definitely wasn't my first experience with Vudu, but it was one of those eye-opening experiences with digital copies that made me realize that, yeah, even Disney, even the really high-quality studio stuff, when it comes to their HD digital copies, they're really crappy in terms of the bit rate. Because there is a scene in this movie where there are a bunch of like butterflies that just go all over this, flutter all over the screen all at once. And it is a blurry goddamn mess on the digital copy, even though the digital copy is HD. And it's all because of the bit rate. Because the bit rate cannot keep up. The bit rate cannot accurately show you all of the shit that's going on the screen because there's so many things, wings fluttering at the same time, that it just creates a bunch of chaos. Like the bit rate cannot keep up with it. Thankfully a Blu-ray does not have that problem. You see everything. You see all the speed of the wings fluttering all together at once like that. And I'm sure it looks absolutely beautiful. So yeah, happy to have this on Blu-ray now. Next up, Heart's War. A lot of people probably don't like this or wouldn't even consider picking it up on Blu-ray, but actually I remember watching this back in the day and thinking it was a pretty damn good movie. It's not necessarily the best war movie ever, but it's a pretty good war movie, I would say. It's at least like a 6, 7 out of 10. And I did want to watch this again because it's been long enough that I felt like, you know what, heck yeah, I'll go for it. Especially considering this was one of the cheaper titles that I picked up, so it really wasn't that big of a deal to me. And it actually arrived brand spanking new. It was like factory sealed and everything. And yeah, obviously. There are so many copies of this out there on Blu-ray. It's really not hard to come by. It should be very cheap whenever you find it. If you pay more than $5 for this, you're a sucker. That's the kind of deal I'm talking about. So, yeah, it's a great movie, but it's one of those that's so widely available and so few people really liked it that it's going to be easy to find for a decent price. And honestly, I suggest getting it in your collection, even if you haven't seen it, especially if you find it for a good deal, because, yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Pretty good. Next up, finally got Shutter Island here. Shutter Island. Interesting enough, I went to a thrift store the other day and I saw a video game called Shutter Island. I'm like, does that have anything to do with the movie? I don't know. It was like a PC game or something, but whatever the case may be, Shutter Island the movie is a Martin Scorsese flick. Martin Scorsese is a great director, but sometimes some of the stuff he does isn't necessarily excellent. It's not, cream of the crop, best thing you've ever seen before. I know some people who swear by this movie, who consider this one of the best movies ever made. Okay, I don't necessarily agree with that, because I feel like the kind of gotcha moment in this, the kind of the shock and surprise, the suspense moment in it is very much like every other suspense moment you ever see in these kinds of movies. So it wasn't really that effective for me, because I watch movies like this all the time. I love stories like this. So I guess I kind of ruined it for myself in that I already kind of knew what to expect. I was already kind of guessing at what the truth was, at what was actually going on here. And my guess was correct. But even though my guess was correct, and every time that happens, it's kind of like, oh, fuck, I guessed it, Even though that was the case, I still felt like it was a pretty good movie. It did a very good job. It just wasn't able to get one by me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad movie. It just means that I've seen so many of these movies that I knew what to expect, you know what I mean? It's definitely worth watching at least a couple more times, so yeah, why the hell not? Next up, I got Terminator 2. This is the one you want. This is the best transfer available for the movie on Blu-ray. Yes, I already have it. It's like right, where is it? Right, hold on, I'm gonna find it. The Steelbook has the Skynet edition in it. This is not the Skynet edition. This is the newer edition of the film, and it is a much better transfer, so it is the version of the movie you want to have on Blu-ray. It also comes with digital copy code and all that whatever nonsense. That's probably your best bet for figuring out, other than just the big T2 there, that's probably your best bet for figuring out which one to get. Yeah, this is the one. This is the one you want above all others. So yes, I bought it again, just so I could have the better quality version of it. Speaking of movies, though, that like Hearts War, that were mass produced, there are so many of them out there. Knocked Up. If you don't already have this in your collection, I don't know what's wrong with you. I didn't have it in my collection yet because I was waiting to see how cheap of a deal I can get on it, and I got a really cheap deal on it here, so yeah, I figured why the hell not, it's time to finally pick this one up. I watched this one probably about a year after it came out, and I thought it was actually pretty funny, pretty entertaining movie. So I figured why the hell not add this one to my collection. It's definitely a fun one to watch every now and then. And I actually haven't even seen it since then. So it's like I kind of wanted to watch it again. And, well, to be able to get it for essentially the price that you would pay for a rental, not bad. Now I own it. Another one from that era, 40-Year-Old Virgin. I love the humor in this. Every day nowadays, like, it seems like every other day, I should say, a random quote from the movie or a random moment from this movie will pop into my head, because there are so many different scenarios that take place in this movie that are just funny and relatable in a lot of odd, funny little ways, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I just really like this movie. I think it's hilarious. And Steve Carell is just one of the best comedians out there today. He's one of my favorites. He's done so many amazing things. Gotta love the guy. You gotta love him. Almost everything he does is fantastic. And as I understand it, I never got to see like the gag reel on this one, but there are so many gags on this one that, as I understand it, are freaking hilarious. It says there's over 30 minutes of deleted scenes here. Well, if there are 30 minutes of deleted scenes, then why didn't you just put that in the unrated version and call it like the deluxe unrated version or something? I don't know. Whatever the case may be, this definitely looks like a load of fun. And yeah, this one has been released and re-released and re-released and re-released and re-released so many freaking times that you should be able to find it for a pretty decent deal. Next up is one of the ones that cost me a bit more, but I didn't mind because I really wanted to see this movie. I hadn't seen it yet when I first purchased it. And that is Lincoln, directed by Steven Spielberg. I love Steven Spielberg. Daniel Day-Lewis as Abraham Lincoln. This was a fan-fucking-tastic movie. Yes, I actually did watch it, and I actually am giving you a review of the movie. Very fucking good movie. But at the same time, it kind of shows you a side of Abraham Lincoln that most people don't think about or talk about. Like, most people don't talk about how he kind of like was maybe not himself purchasing or buying votes per se, but he was enticing and telling other members of his cabinet to do that for him. So when you really think about it, it was kind of a corrupt president. But he used his corruption for good. But at the time, just like today, if a politician was going to use their ability to corrupt the politics of the day or whatever, if they were going to use that ability to corrupt for whatever reason, how would we necessarily know if it was for good or for bad? Today we think of, well, of course it's good to get rid of slavery. Well, of course it's good to free black slaves and to free black men and women and black people. You know, it's, of course that was a good. Of course he was doing the right thing, obviously. But back then it was more of an issue because you have to put yourself in their headspace. You really do, because nowadays we understand how fucked up it is, but back then people didn't understand how fucked up it was. They didn't see the dichotomy of it. They didn't see the problems with it. At the same time as it was ultimately for good, what I'm trying to say here is if a politician tried to do something like that today and they tried to corrupt their way into getting something done, you wouldn't know if it was necessarily good or bad. The immediate thing that pops into my head is kind of what happened with Obama and Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act. We don't know for sure if he bought any votes. We don't know for sure if he coerced anybody or enticed anybody from one side of the fence or another side of the fence to vote in favor of the bill that he wanted to pass. But just from the concessions that were being made legally and were being made to like change the bill and to make it more appealing to people on both sides of the fence, you know what I mean? Just from those concessions, you can gather that he was willing to work from his position as much as he possibly could to entice people and to convince people to get this thing passed, in much the same way that Abraham Lincoln in this movie is trying to entice people to do that. I am almost wondering whether or not Spielberg kind of knew that, and not knew it for a fact, but he kind of had thought that maybe that was going on and was kind of hinting at that and kind of making commentary about how that kind of politics in the United States is not new. It's been around for freaking ever, for over 150 years at fucking least. So, yeah. But I think that in a lot of ways kind of shows some of the flaws of the two-party system and the flaws of our government. But at the same time, we can see that even through the flaws, we were able to achieved some pretty great things. So I mean, in terms of the politics of the movie, it's like it's a nonpartisan thing, and in terms of how good the movie itself is, it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I can see myself watching this several times, several more times within my lifetime. Next up, we have The Cell. I have not seen this in a long time, but this is one of those nightmare-inducing films for me because it might not necessarily be like a traditional horror film, but there are so many moments in it that are so freaking disturbing when she goes into the mind of this killer that it's just, oh my god, it is so fucked up. There's a moment in this movie that is, for me at least, top 5 most fucked up things in a movie ever. So you gotta have that movie if that's the way you feel about it, just so you can have, if you really want to, those cringe-inducing moments once more. You know, if you really want to, you can enjoy that. I can actually see myself watching this again during the Halloween season next year, perhaps. So yeah, pretty cool. Next up, we got the double pack. This was one of the ones that cost me a bit more. I think it came to a total of about $10 for Happy Gilmore. Actually, it was like $11. Yeah, Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison here on Blu-ray. Which, believe it or not, even though these have been reproduced on Blu-ray a couple of different times, still, like, the price on them has not dropped. Like, it's been almost impossible to find them for a really good deal, at least for me. I haven't seen either of these movies for any less than like $7.50 per title. So to be able to get both of them for around the $5 price point, which is what I was looking for, is pretty damn nice because, you know, I like these movies, but I can't see myself watching them too much more in my life. I've seen them so many damn times. It's just that they're movies that I grew up with. They're movies that I watched when I was younger, and I want to be able to watch them again every now and then when I'm feeling maybe a little bit nostalgic for that kind of a humor or whatever. But, you know, I don't want to have to pay too damn much just for some nostalgia. You know what I mean? And just, why is there always a hefty price tag on nostalgia? You know what I mean? But either way, yeah, glad to have these two. And I did check the discs. It comes on 2 discs, very nice. And they're in good condition. So, very happy to have this. Finally, that's one I've been trying to get in my collection for years now, but just haven't found it for a good price. Next up, this one was about actually $9 for all 4 movies. We've got the Tremors Attack Pack. Yes, like the second, third, and fourth movie aren't necessarily brilliant, right? There are problems with them. I don't think anyone would argue that the first Tremors movie is bad because, well, it's, to me, a cult classic. It's an absolute must. It's one of the coolest movies that I remember seeing when I was a kid. So, yeah. I didn't recall as much about the second, third, and fourth movies until I watched, not all of them, I think, but I watched some of them with my friends. I know I watched the second one with my friends, and I think the third as well, a while back. And this was like a year or two ago. And at the time, I recall thinking, like, I know I've seen these movies before, but I don't remember anything about them. So going into it a little bit more fresh, I was pretty happy to find that the sequels, although they aren't necessarily good, like I already said, they're fun. They're dumb, stupid fun in all the best ways. So, yeah, I can't even really take too much of an issue with it. And the creature effects are still stunning to this day. They're still really fucking good. So they still hold up. So, I mean, I can't really be too mad about that. And, well, to get all 4 of these for a damn good price on Blu-ray, pretty cool. The only negative side of it all, of course, is that 2 movies on one disc, 2 movies on the other disc. But what are you going to do? And I'm sure at some point Shout Factory is going to do like a deluxe edition of maybe all 4 movies individually or something. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, very happy to have this cheapo version, at least, in my collection. Next up, we have Denzel. Gotta have Denzel. Got Out of Time here. There was a bunch of movies that Denzel did in the mid 2000s. He did like Men on Fire, which I have. He did this, Out of Time. I really like this. It's got like a almost a Miami Vice feel to it. And then there was also Deja Vu. That's another one that I remember from around that time period. I want to get that one as well. But, well, at least right now I have Out of Time. Been meaning to rewatch this one for a while now because I do like the whole Miami Vice kind of feel to it. And I did like the way that it was. I remember liking the way it was shot. So, yeah, I can't wait to check this out again for the first time in years. And, yeah, to get it for a really good price, this was one of the really cheaper titles. So, pretty nice. Pretty nice. And then, last but not least, okay, maybe it is least. I don't know. Last and least, we've got the last cheapo title that I picked up here, and that is Behind Enemy Lines. I did actually enjoy this movie, the first one at least here, with Gene Hackman and Owen Wilson. I really am not a huge Owen Wilson fan, but I liked him in this movie because it was not the kind of role he was known for. It was not the kind of role that he typically did. Owen Wilson is more of a funny guy, you know. Well, he gets typecast, you know, into those kind of roles. And, you know, okay, whatever works for him, whatever gets him a paycheck, right? Whatever. But at the same time, I like to see him kind of branch out whenever he gets the opportunity to. And he was given the opportunity to in this movie. Behind Enemy Lines is a pretty damn good movie. I don't think if it was a bad movie, it would have gotten a sequel. But the sequel, as I understand it, is complete garbage. So I'm not even going to bother with that one. Unless somebody here says, actually, the sequel is surprisingly underrated or something. Like, I highly doubt anybody's going to do that, but yeah. I just wanted to have this one on Blu-ray, and it was cheap. So yeah, add to my war movie collection, even if it is one of the newer war movies out there. So I got Hearts War, and then now I got this. Yes, I've got a bunch of the newer war movies that came out in the last few years that most people, or not few years, but few decades, that most people don't like, but I actually think they're pretty cool. They're pretty good. I would put this up there with, like, maybe not as good as Jarhead, but notch or two below. It's not that bad. It's pretty good. And that is it. That's all I got from FYE, but again, that's a huge freaking stack of titles. A huge stack of titles here for $63 total shipped to my house. So, you know, when you really factor it all out, it's like $4 or something like that per movie. And that's about what you're going to pay on Black Friday. So, you know, whatever. I did the math and it all worked out to be about a price that I was willing to pay for each of the titles. In particular, I know like Lincoln cost me about $6 total. Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore cost me about $11 total. Tremors, like I said, cost $9, the Tremors Attack Pack. Oz, the Great and Powerful, was another one that cost me $6. So T2, the new T2 cost me $6. So, I mean, if you actually look at like the Black Friday prices this year and compare some of these prices and these titles, it's like, these are titles, a lot of them not actually going to be on sale on Black Friday, but I'm getting them for what is essentially Black Friday prices. So, you know, that was my thinking when I went ahead and bought these before Black Friday, just because like I wanted to get some stuff. It's an addiction, damn it. But anyways, that'll do it for me today. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later. Peace.